So here we're going to take a look at some of the changes we've been making to Chara's snatch. One thing that we've changed lately is she used to set up with her back a little more like this off the ground, and that was making it difficult with her body type, that sort of angle off the ground. This is one thing that's changed in both of these. She was behind the bar, and that was making it really hard for her the whole lift. So in both of these videos today, we had her set up with her torso more like this, which is more fitting for her body type. So let's take a look at both of these. One of these is better than the other. They're slightly different weights, but these are the clips I had from today. They're pretty close. We're looking at 35 and 40 kilos. So we're going to take a look at both of these, and we'll watch in full motion first. I tied them together. So in the first one, she had the tendency, in the top video, she had the tendency to want to go back exactly to where she started with that higher angle. In the second one, she does a little bit, but it's not quite as pronounced. So let's look at what's the difference between these two videos and how this can help you set up the snatch a little bit better. Depending on your body type has a lot to do with some of the nuances in the setup. So when we look at this, in the top one, we're looking at, okay, where is the bar on her shins? So right here, the bar is directly against her shins. Now, that kind of up against your shins position can work well for some people. It depends on the limb lengths in your lower body. Now, for her, that did not work, and it did not allow the bar to move around her knees effectively. Because if we look at this first lift, the bar kind of tracks out. We watch that. See that bar kind of track out as she goes because it's got to move around her knees. So what we did was we moved the bar like an inch, a half inch off of her shins to allow that bar to move around her more effectively. So let's take a look at that bottom one where we did that. And that changes everything in that lift. So if we look at that bottom one, we see this small gap there. We can zoom in a little bit. We see kind of where she leaves. Small gap there. And it stays away, but then that lets her move around the knees a little more effectively. So then let's take a look at some of the positions in these lifts. So now the positions are way better as she gets to here. In the top one, set up right against the shins, that bar is away from her in that position as she gets higher, and it never comes back and sits into her. Here, look how that bar is sitting into it. She's getting a nice power position. In the top one, she never really gets into a power position. So here, the bar stacks very neatly above the feet. Here, that bar is always looking a little forward. So as she comes into that power position, she never fully gets the bar to the hip in the top. And the reason why is all about that setup. And we see in that in the bottom video, she's very neatly coming into the hip and getting that good extension. And we can see kind of what I look for is the foot movement in the end. We look at the top one, we see her kind of lurch forward. In the bottom one, we see the footwork goes out. I would like to see maybe her get a little wider footwork, but that's okay because we're focused on like one thing at a time. And we see here it's just up and down. She might move out, maybe pretty good, right? And then we kind of see where she ends up. In that catch position, in that first one, it's a little forward and she has to struggle to get her head through. But in that second one, it settles really nicely. So let's watch that piece of it again. So watch the feet, watch how steady the catch is.